Okay, boy, please start speaking.
Present indefinite tense. Mr. Sir Sudhir teaches us how to speak English. Mr. Sir Sudhir doesn't teach us how to speak English. Does Mr. Sir Sudhir teach us how to speak English? Doesn't Mr. Sir Sudhir teach us how to speak English? Why does Mr. Sir Sudhir teach us how to speak English? Why doesn't Mr. Sir Sudhir teach us how to speak English? Present continuous tense. Mr. Sir Sudhir is teaching us how to speak English. Mr. Sir Sudhir isn't teaching us how to speak English. Is Mr. Sir Sudhir teaching us how to speak English? Isn't Mr. Sir Sudhir teaching us how to speak English? Why is Mr. Sir Sudhir teaching us how to speak English? Why isn't Mr. Sir Sudhir teaching us how to speak English? Present perfect tense. Mr. Sir Sudhir has taught us how to speak English. Mr. Sir Sudhir hasn't taught us how to speak English. Has Mr. Sir Sudhir taught us how to speak English? Hasn't Mr. Sir Sudhir taught us how to speak English? Why has Mr. Sir Sudhir taught us how to speak English? Why hasn't Mr. Sir Sudhir taught us how to speak English? Present perfect continuous tense. Mr. Sir Sudhir has been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years. Mr. Sir Sudhir hasn't been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years. Has Mr. Sir Sudhir been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years? Hasn't Mr. Sir Sudhir been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years? Why has Mr. Sir Sudhir been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years? Why hasn't Mr. Sir Sudhir been teaching us how to speak English for 15 years? That's all, sir.
Clapping for him.